I used to think my life was perfect until I caught my husband calling me a glorified maid in a text to his mistress. Everyone saw us as the dream couple in our lakefront home, but I was quietly fading behind his shadow. He controlled the money, mocked my ideas, and told me I was lucky he married me. But I had a secret. While he slept beside me each night, I was building something no one knew about. And when he tried to throw me away like I was worthless, he had no idea I'd already made $500,000. The scent of cinnamon and toasted brioche filled the kitchen as I arranged blueberries in a perfect spiral atop a plate of pancakes. Sunlight streamed through the tall windows of our lakefront home, painting golden patches on the white marble countertops. Everything gleamed because I made it so. The cabinets were the soft sage I insisted on. The brass fixtures, the floral centerpiece, the antique clock, each detail carefully chosen. Yet not a single title, deed, or document in this house bore my name. God, you're lucky, Ethan said as he strolled in, buttoning his cufflinks. Most women would kill to just stay home and cook breakfast in yoga pants. I smiled, soft and practiced. Lucky me, I murmured, pouring him coffee. He kissed my cheek, without really looking at me. I've got a call at 9. Don't forget, Mum's coming over later. Try not to talk about your little online thing. Of course, I said. That little online thing had quietly earned me over $200,000 in the past year, but he didn't know. He never asked. He left, and the silence returned. I stood in our flawless kitchen, the hum of the refrigerator the only sound. I looked around at the curated perfection and felt like a ghost haunting a home she designed but didn't own. I walked over to the kitchen island where Ethan had left his phone charging. A flicker of guilt passed through me, then vanished. I picked it up. Locked, of course. He never left it unlocked. He never made mistakes. Ethan was careful. Too careful. But as I replaced it on the counter, a notification dinged from the adjacent room, his laptop still open. I moved slowly, as if approaching a wild animal. One unread message blinked on the corner of the screen. The name stopped me cold. Baby V. I didn't open it. I didn't need to. That name wasn't in any of our family group chats. That evening, during dinner, Ethan barely spoke. I watched the way his fingers curled around his wine glass, the way he looked past me like I was part of the decor. You should try being more grateful, he said, suddenly, as if responding to a thought I hadn't voiced. You don't realize how good you have it. I do, I replied. But I didn't believe it. Later that week, his words sharpened. You know, if I had a real partner, someone who actually contributed, I wouldn't be so stressed. What do you mean by contributed? I asked. You're home all day, Olivia. You cook. You clean. That's not a contribution, it's maintenance. I felt something split inside me like a thread snapping under tension, but I said nothing. I nodded. I kept quiet. That's what he liked. His family liked it too. At a dinner party the next weekend, his mother laughed a little too loudly at a joke about women who retire after marriage. Then she looked right at me and said, "Well, Olivia always was a bit of a charity case. Ethan saved her, really." They all laughed. I smiled. My hands gripped the wine glass so tightly I thought it might shatter. Something was changing in Ethan. He grew colder, passwords changed. He took calls in other rooms. His smile never reached his eyes anymore. He stopped mentioning me at his networking events, stopped introducing me at parties, I had become invisible. Then one morning he left his phone on the bed while he showered. He never did that. My heart pounded as I picked it up. No lock, no Face ID. Just open. Like an invitation or a trap. I swiped through his photos. Not many, he was selective, but then I saw it. A picture of him on a yacht, smiling, holding a wine glass. And beside him, wearing a white sundress and oversized sunglasses, was a woman I didn't recognize. They were in Santorini. That was supposed to be our honeymoon destination. We'd never gone because work came up. My stomach turned, my throat tightened. I zoomed in, searching for details, anything to confirm it wasn't what I thought, but then I saw it. On her wrist, loosely dangling in the sun, was a delicate gold bracelet with a ruby clasp. The exact bracelet I had gifted to Ethan's mother on her birthday last year. He said she lost it. She didn't. She gave it to her. I sat there, frozen, phone still in hand, Ethan still in the shower, unaware that the walls of his careful world had just begun to crack. The days that followed felt like walking through fog, thick, suffocating, and disorienting. Ethan had always been controlling in subtle ways, but now his grip tightened with a terrifying precision. "Just stay home with Mason," he said one morning as he adjusted his tie. "No need to run around. He needs you here. And really, who else would hire you at this point?" I didn't answer. Mason, our 6-year-old, was still eating cereal on the couch, unaware of the rot creeping through the walls of our home. "I was just going to meet Ellie for coffee," I said quietly. He gave a clipped laugh. "Ellie's single. You're married. You don't need advice from someone who couldn't keep a man." That week, the joint credit card was declined at the grocery store. When I called the bank, they said the account had been closed. Ethan shrugged when I asked. "We need to simplify. It's too risky with all the identity theft these days. Here," he said, handing me a wad of cash. "This should be enough for the week." I stared at the money like it was a leash. My name wasn't on any account anymore. No credit, no access, just allowances. That night I couldn't sleep. Something inside me, a dull, persistent hum, was turning into a siren. I opened my old laptop, the one Ethan didn't know I'd kept. I checked old files, emails, bank statements. Everything seemed in order. But then I noticed a strange Gmail address tied to one of my backup accounts. It wasn't mine. I followed the trail. The Gmail was linked to a Stripe business account. The business name, OLV Media, LLC. My initials. I froze. I searched the business registry. There it was. OLV Media, LLC. Registered under my name, using our home address. Filed almost a year ago. I'd never heard of it. My pulse quickened. I clicked into the IRS website and pulled up the EIN assigned to the company. All the documents pointed to me as the sole proprietor. Then, as if the universe needed to twist the knife, an email landed in my inbox. Subject: Reminder. Your quarterly tax filings are due for OLV Media, LLC. Failure to comply may result in penalties. Attached was a formal letter from the IRS. You are legally responsible for all business activities and taxable income reported under OLV Media, LLC. I stared at it, mouth dry. He had set up a shell company in my name. I was the fall girl. Later that week, Ethan came home early, tossed his keys on the counter, and announced like it was the weather. "I think we should get a divorce." I blinked. "Excuse me?" "It's not working," he said flatly. We've grown apart. It's best for Mason. I nearly laughed. Grown apart? He'd been carving out distance like a sculptor for years. I'll move out, I said. But I want my share of the house. He cut me off. You're not entitled to the house. It's in my name, always has been. And the prenup is airtight. You want me to leave with nothing? You should be grateful I'm not dragging this out in court, he said. I'm offering peace. Don't push it. Later that evening, his mother stopped by, uninvited. She sipped tea like royalty and said, Well, Olivia, at least you got to live in a nice house for a while. You'll be fine. Maybe go live with your sister or get a job. I felt like screaming, but I didn't. I just smiled. Again. That night, when the house was finally quiet, I sat in the dark and opened my laptop again. I typed OLV Media website into Google. There it was, olvmedia.com. The page loaded slowly, like the internet knew it was about to wreck me. The website looked sleek, expensive, professional. A content marketing agency with high-profile clients and glossy testimonials. I clicked through the About Us section. No names, no faces, just polished slogans. But the slogan, that was mine. Word for word from a pitch I once made over wine, sitting on our back porch 3 years ago. I'd told Ethan about this idea, helping small brands scale through story-first marketing. I'd even written the tagline. He said it was cute, but unrealistic. I kept reading. Every page, every line betrayal, and every visual bore my fingerprints. And the kicker, when I typed olvmedia.com into a domain lookup tool, the registration email was ethanmarketingeggmail.com. He hadn't just taken my idea, he built an empire with it, using my name. And if the IRS came knocking, it would be my neck on the block. I closed the laptop, hands trembling. He didn't just want to leave me, he wanted to erase me. The pen barely touched the paper. My signature was crooked, shaky, but final. The attorney didn't blink. Ethan didn't either. He just leaned back in his chair like he'd closed a deal, not a marriage. It's done, he said, like he was announcing the end of a business quarter. I left the courthouse with a canvas tote of hastily packed clothes, my passport, and a cheap burner phone. No car, no home, no plan. The city felt unfamiliar, even though I'd lived here for a decade. Everything was quieter without someone telling me who I should be. I found a small Airbnb on the edge of town, furnished, forgettable, and perfect. That night, while rummaging through my storage boxes, I found it, my old laptop, dusty, heavy, like it had absorbed all the years I'd lost. I charged it, powered it up, and there it was, my original business plan, Olivia's Vision, 2019. I laughed, then cried, then laughed again. I opened the document and read through each slide, each bullet point, each colour-coded strategy I had so lovingly designed. The tagline, Stories Build Trust, Trust Builds Empires, was mine. Every case study, mock campaign, growth model, it was my work. The exact foundation OLV Media had been built on, without attribution, without permission. I stared at the screen for hours, then opened a new browser tab and created a fresh Upwork profile under the name Liv Wolf. No pictures, no past, just skills. I applied for 20 freelance jobs that night. Copywriting, brand strategy, content consulting. My heart raced every time I hit submit. By morning, I had 3 responses. By the end of the week, I had my first gig, $1,400 for rewriting a sales page. I poured myself into the work. The writing felt like breathing again. Clients kept coming. Reviews stacked up. My account balance, once gas station receipt level sad, started to bloom. 2 months in, I got an email from a major fashion startup. They wanted branding consultation for their new eco-luxury line. The budget was 5 figures. I could barely breathe as I read it. Let's schedule a Zoom call to align vision before we proceed, their message read. I replied immediately. Absolutely. Looking forward to it. Liv. The call was set for Thursday at noon. That morning I straightened my hair, put on a blazer, and made sure the backdrop behind me was clean and neutral. I wanted to look competent, not conspicuous. The Zoom rang, I clicked join, the screen flickered, and there she was. Baby V, sunglasses gone, no filters, no yacht, just Veronica Klein, Ethan's cousin, my former best friend. Her face didn't twitch, she recognized me instantly. Liv, she said, a slow smirk rising on her lips. What a coincidence? I swallowed hard, heart thudding. Veronica, I said flatly. Oh, you go by Liv now? She leaned closer to the camera. Cute. A little dramatic, but hey, rebranding is all the rage these days. I didn't respond. I assume you know who I am, she continued, or did you really think the world was big enough for you to hide in? I'm not hiding, I said. She raised a brow. Then let me be clear. OLV Media owns that tagline, that strategy, and anything even remotely resembling your original vision. We've had lawyers review everything. Keep using it and we'll sue. You mean the strategy I wrote in 2019 before your cousin stole it? Do you have proof? She asked, tone turning sharp. Because I do. Trademark filed, IP registered. Your little Google Doc won't hold up in court. She ended the call. My hands were shaking. I stared at my screen, then slowly deleted every project file tied to the tagline, every client deck, every word I had once believed in. My vision was now stolen property. That night, I sat in the dark again, tears silently streaking my face. I felt the world closing in, like it had rehearsed this collapse 100 times before. I was about to shut down everything, delete my accounts, disappear again, when a notification lit up my screen. A direct message, anonymous account, no profile picture. I know what she did to you. I used to work for Veronica. She didn't create OLV. She hijacked it. I have receipts. Want them? I froze. My cursor hovered. I typed, "What kind of receipts?" No reply. Then a file arrived. 1 link. No message. I scanned it with every tool I had. It was clean. I clicked. The video loaded. A grainy clip. Someone filming from a distance. Ethan and I in our backyard 3 years ago. I was sketching on a whiteboard, pitching my idea to him, explaining every detail. He was nodding, recording me on his phone. My voice, my face, my words, my dream. Proof. The video became my ignition. I watched it twice, then again and again, until my sadness burned out and rage took its place. Not the blind kind, but sharp, focused, surgical. Ethan and Veronica hadn't just taken my work. They'd used it to build themselves an empire while grinding my name into dust. But I still had something they didn't. Me. I reopened my laptop and started sketching a new blueprint, not for revenge, but for reinvention. I built a new brand from scratch, new name, new logo, new tone. It wasn't just OLV 2.0, it was a total shift in philosophy. If they had stolen my voice, I'd build a louder one. I called it feral strategy, a nod to survival, wildness, unpolished brilliance. Where OLV sold sleek stories, feral sold raw truth. It wasn't about luxury, it was about resilience. I built it in silence, never sharing anything publicly, just building, just sharpening. In the meantime, I took free courses on legal copyright registration. I filed for IP protection on every single element they hadn't covered and a few they had overlooked. Words, concepts, visual systems. The law became my armour. I didn't tell anyone, not even my closest freelance contacts. This wasn't about venting. This was war. And I'd learned something precious. You never announce a war until you're already inside the gates. While I worked, a question started forming in my mind. I didn't post it publicly, not yet, but I whispered it to myself every night like a challenge. If someone stole everything from you, your voice, your credit, your name, what would you do? A. Sue them. B. Disappear quietly. C. Rebuild louder, smarter, unkillable. For the first time, I didn't just feel like someone trying to survive. I felt like someone rising. Weeks later, I received an unexpected email from a woman named Claire Whitmore, founder of one of the largest digital business conferences in the country. She said she'd been following some of my anonymous work under the alias Liv Wolf. She said my unique brand philosophy was refreshing and brutally necessary. Would I speak at their private strategy panel? It would be off record, closed door, no press. I said yes. Then the itinerary arrived. 2 panels, one on digital brand ethics, one on innovation theft. On both lists, Veronica Klein. I stared at her name until my eyes blurred. She was the keynote. I would be the closing. I almost backed out. But then I imagined her on stage presenting the same sanitized ideas she stole from my bones. I imagined her being praised for her originality, her creativity, her resilience, and I felt something ancient uncoil in my chest. I wasn't going to run. I was going to speak. For weeks I prepared my panel, not as a takedown, but as a reveal. I embedded stories, data, even emotional arcs. I studied every one of Veronica's public campaigns, noting what she emphasized and what she omitted. Then I created Ferrell's first public campaign, a series of micro-documentaries featuring entrepreneurs who'd been silenced, discredited, dismissed. I wasn't just launching a company, I was launching a movement. We scheduled our drop to coincide with Veronica's conference keynote. Same morning, same hour, same target audience, but wildly different messages. Hers, Polish, prestige, perfection. Mine, messy beginnings, stolen credit, the fire after ruin. 2 days before the event, I received an email. The subject line was blank. The sender, ethan.marketingeggmail.com. You're destroying my reputation. This needs to stop. We should talk. One last time. There was no attachment, just a meeting request. 1 hour, one cafe, the place we'd had our first date. For a moment, I almost deleted it. But then I thought, why now? What did he want? What was he afraid of? I accepted. Not because I owed him anything, but because I wanted to look into the eyes of the man who thought he could erase me and let him see what he had created instead. The cafe looked exactly the same as it had the first time Ethan and I met. Chipped wood tables, warm amber lighting, indie folk music humming low in the background. But everything else had changed. I walked in wearing a crisp black blazer, minimal makeup, and eyes that had seen war. He was already there, tapping his phone like he didn't care if I showed up or not. He looked up. Olivia. Ethan. He gestured to the seat across from him, but I remained standing. I only came to say, "This face to face," I said. Then, "I'm done." He leaned back, arms crossed. Look, I get it, you're mad, but this online smear campaign, it's not helping either of us. I haven't posted a word, I said evenly. Not under my name. His jaw twitched. You know what I mean. I pulled a slim black folder from my bag and set it gently on the table. This is a copy of the copyright filings I registered 3 months ago. Logos, slogans, frameworks, the video clip of me explaining the concept to you, recorded by your phone. He opened the folder, read in silence. His fingers tightened as he flipped the pages. And this, I added, tapping a USB beside his latte, is a voice memo you sent to Veronica where you admit the concept came from me. You forgot it synced to your old Google Drive. He stared at me. You've been using my identity to shelter your own liability, I continued, but I'm no longer the legal owner of OLV Media. I transferred full ownership to a shell entity, and I've filed documents proving your fraud. The IRS will know by the end of the week. You're bluffing. You can try me. He sat there, breath shallow, the illusion crumbling. For the first time, I saw fear behind his practiced confidence. I loved you, he said finally. No, I replied, you used me, and you built your empire on the assumption I'd never fight back. Then I walked out, letting silence settle over his collapse. 3 days later, Feral Strategy launched. The campaign hit every major platform. It was raw, unfiltered, emotional, a direct challenge to corporate perfectionism. Entrepreneurs began sharing their stories, tagging Dank Feral Rise and quoting lines I'd once scribbled in the dark. Within 48 hours, the campaign was trending across platforms. By the end of the week, Forbes ran a headline, Anonymous founder of Feral Strategy outsmarts corporate giants with her own story. Then came the viral post. A marketing intern at a PR firm posted screenshots of an internal memo where Ethan bragged about stealing his wife's branding ideas to launch OLV Media. My ex built it. I made it profitable. Fair game. The internet didn't agree. The post exploded. He stole from her, trended for 3 days. Public fury ignited. People rallied behind the faceless creator who had risen from ashes with no apology, only action. And then it got worse for him. Ethan's firm issued a statement distancing themselves. His lawyer, his college roommate, resigned, citing irreconcilable ethical concerns. Micro cliffhanger. The firm's homepage was quietly updated. Ethan's bio and photo vanished overnight. Meanwhile, Veronica tried damage control. She issued a tone-deaf video apology, claiming she was inspired by Olivia, not stealing from her. The comment section flamed her. Inspired doesn't mean plagiarized, one user wrote. You stole from your cousin's wife and called it branding. Clients began pulling out of OLV Media. Brand partnerships dropped. The logo was defaced in memes. A week later, an investigative podcast released a 2-part exposé titled The Quiet Theft, How OLV Media Was Built on a Lie. Veronica's publicist quit. Her agency lost half its clients. IRS began auditing OLV's books. One morning, I opened my inbox to find a subject line I never expected. Speaking invitation, TED 2025. They'd seen the Feral Rise campaign. They wanted me to speak. Topic, rebirth from the ashes, reinventing the self through destruction. I said yes. 2 months later, I stood backstage at the TED auditorium, palms cool, heart steady. My slides were simple. Just words, no names. I didn't need to expose anyone anymore. I had already won. As I stepped onto the red dot and looked out into the sea of faces, I spotted her. Front row, oversized sunglasses, scarf around her neck like armor. Ethan's mother. Her chin trembled, and then tears. She didn't clap. She didn't wave. She just sat in silence, watching me become everything they said I'd never be. The waves broke gently outside the floor-to-ceiling windows of my new apartment, their rhythm steady, calming, like breath. The air smelled like salt, and something sweeter, something like freedom. I poured coffee into a white ceramic mug etched with gold letters. Wolf. No initials, no abbreviations, just me. The lease hung framed in my office, signed proudly, Olivia Wolf. It wasn't a luxury penthouse. It wasn't grand or excessive. It was enough. It was mine. I spent most mornings writing, answering emails, recording voice notes for my followers. Women like me, women who had been dismissed, erased, replaced. I didn't talk about Ethan. I didn't have to. The lessons were bigger than one man. Today's story, I said into the mic, is about building something not from scratch, but from scar tissue. You're not starting from zero. You're starting from survival. And that's not nothing. That's power. The podcast went live and was downloaded over 10,000 times in the first hour. By now, Feral Strategy had evolved from a name to a movement. We hosted digital boot camps, partnered with legal networks, created funding programs for single mothers launching businesses. My name wasn't hidden anymore, but it didn't lead. The work did. And still, offers came in. One day I received an email from a major venture firm. The subject line read, "Acquisition proposal, 5 mentored valuation for Feral Strategy." The number stunned me. $5 million. $5 million for the idea they said was too emotional, too niche, too personal. I let the offer sit unopened for a day, then another. Finally, I opened it, read the full terms, and closed it again. I never replied. The value wasn't in the number. The value was in the impact. I didn't build this to flip it. I built it because I knew what it meant to be voiceless. And now I had one, amplified, sharp, relentless. 2 weeks later, an email landed in my inbox from Ethan.marketing@edgemail. Comms subject, one last thing. I stared at it for a long time. I clicked. Olivia, you don't owe me anything, but I need to say this. You were right. I didn't see it before, but now I see what you've done, who you've become, and I wonder, can someone as strong as you still be loved? Can anyone really love someone who no longer needs anyone? I didn't answer. I archived it and blocked the address. He wasn't asking out of love. He was asking out of loss, and I wasn't his to lose anymore. That night, I sat on the balcony, the sky painted in watercolour strokes of lavender and orange. I thought of everything I had shed, my old name, my old silence, the version of me who begged to be seen. I didn't want that life back. I didn't want their apologies. I wanted legacy. So I started something new, the Wolf Initiative. It wasn't a company. It wasn't even a brand. It was a mission. We created a database of affordable legal resources, a storytelling fund for women whose businesses were stolen by former partners, a mentorship circle where survivors taught survivors. No hierarchy, no saviorism, just raw, real rebuilding. Every week I posted stories from the community. Names changed, faces blurred. But the message was always the same. You were never weak. They were just afraid of your voice. One morning I sat at a corner cafe drafting my next article when a young woman approached me, hesitant. Are you, Wolf? Like The wolf? I smiled. Sometimes. She laughed nervously and pointed to the tote bag slung over her shoulder. It was canvas, simple, stamped with a quote from one of my earliest blog posts. She didn't rise from the ashes. She lit the match. I found this second-hand, she said. Didn't even know the story behind it until I joined the network. Thank you for everything. You changed how I see myself. I touched the edge of the bag, not to correct her, but to feel the truth of it. She walked away, her silhouette shrinking against the morning sun. I watched her disappear down the sidewalk, her tote swinging gently, and then I saw it. The bottom corner of the bag, faded but still visible, Wolf Initiative, my words, in her world. That was legacy. I returned to my seat and opened a blank document. At the top, I typed, "Not everyone gets to start over from zero, but I didn't start from zero. I started from wisdom." I posted the entry without edits, no hashtags, no promo, just truth. I don't know where this road leads next. I don't know what kind of battles lie ahead or how many more layers of myself I'll have to burn through to become who I'm meant to be. But I know this, I am not afraid of fire. Not anymore. And now I ask you, if you were me, if you were standing here with everything rebuilt from the wreckage, what would you do next?